The captain came on and said, we're going to dump this plane, brace for impact, and probably brace pretty hard. And that's what we did. And kudos to him, man. He did a great job.
Much of this, since the last 3 weeks began, have been about one person. And I want to correct the record right now. This was a crew effort. Our crew of 5, as well as the first responders here in New York, and the cooperation of the passengers made this successful emergency landing possible.
When we did hit, I almost felt like I was on a cruise ship, because as I looked out the window, the plane submerged, and it felt like almost looking out a porthole.
I've always said, pilot skill, God's will. Yeah. That's what I said, yeah. And I believe that. And God's will, part of it is all that focus of the energy that all of us had of making, just making sure that plane just was let down in the water.
Well, hard to believe, number one, that that much time's passed, and again, no one lost their lives. Just incredible. It's a miracle on the Hudson. That's what they're calling it. Where were you January 15th, 2009? Again, it was that day. U.S. Airways flight 1549 ended up in the Hudson River after a bird strike. The plane was carrying over 150 passengers and crew. They called it, again, the miracle on the Hudson, because everyone survived. Here's what one of our producers remembered about that day.
I was doing a 3 o'clock show that day, and I remember I walked in the control room just about 5 minutes before my show was to start, and we heard a shout down from the assignment desk that there was a report of a plane down in the Hudson. Initial reports sort of discounted it. There was word it was a movie shoot. It wasn't anything to be concerned about. But then it became quickly apparent that it was the real deal. There was, in fact, a plane down, and there were reports of rescue operations beginning, ferry boats turning to pick up or move in the direction of the plane, and trying to assist people that were on board.
There's Steve, one of our best producers, remembering that day. Christy's with us. What are your recollections of covering that story? Again, it was a loud miracle.
I remember, I think like everybody else, just being so taken with that picture of all of them on the wings, of everybody standing there and thinking, I remember thinking what it must have been like in the cabin when they hit. Because I remember hearing stories of people saying, it was chaotic, but it wasn't out of control. People were helping people out. There might have been a panic, but they weren't showing this intense free-for-all kind of thing. And that picture right there is the one that I will never forget, because you think, okay, now they're out of the plane. What are they thinking? I mean, they can see the skyline of the city. They know, they're too far to swim. The water's freezing cold. It's January. And they're just waiting for somebody to come get them. But I would love to hear, if they can just take us back to that moment. As they were standing there, are they just thinking, man, we made it?
And what do they think 5 years later? Even Sully himself talks about that being the 3 most harrowing moments of his life. Had the nightmares afterward as he came to grips with all of us. I remember covering it here, and we're getting word of, where's this plane going to land? Right. And next thing you know, it is literally in the Hudson. And then, thankfully, the miracle happened. 155 people, passengers and crew on board, no one loses their life. I mean, it was that kind of calm under fire. And, of course, everyone coming after that, hey, if you're taking a flight, who do you want captaining that airplane? Sully. He became America's pilot, right?
Well, and now, look where he is now. He's an author. He's a speaker. I mean, he's the man of the hour for the rest of his life.
Yeah, let's go on. There he is right there. Kind of where are they now? And let's start with Sully Sullenberger. You mentioned it, best-selling author. He's a speaker, a consultant, works in air safety as well, been congratulated by a couple of presidents, so on and so forth. How about First Officer Jeff Skiles? He was on leave for some of the time following the incident. He's now the FAA, the EAA, the Experimental Aircraft Association. He says he'll continue to fly, just not as an airline pilot.